When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Some days call for working up a sweat, working on your passion, and endless action. Ditch the glitch with Liquid IV's new Energy Multiplier Sugar-Free. Refreshing flavors like strawberry kiwi and blackberry lemonade. Scientifically formulated to support physical energy, hydration, focus, mood, and social stamina. Liquid IV's new Energy Multiplier Sugar-Free. Hydrating energy. Tap the banner to learn more.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Well, full time at a very soggy Swansea.com stadium, and the result that we all saw coming, I think, not from the start, but as soon as Yates and Callum Wendy missed them chances at, 85 minutes, I think there was a bit of inevitability that Forest could throw this away, and they're in a comfortable position. They got themselves into a very good position from 2 moments of quality in the first half that shone through, because otherwise, apart from that, it was very even. But by the end, Swansea's momentum carried them over the line, and once Forest did score them chances, they're always liable to what happened. It's a shame, and I don't think it's time to get too down deep, because there were some positive signs there. I thought Zinchenko played well in that inverted role that looks like it will be implemented for Forest. I thought Douglas Luiz as well shone in the midfield. They were the 2 best players for me that stood out, and the change that Ange is going to bring isn't come overnight. I think it was a mix of Ange ball and Nuno ball, if you like. Forest by the end slipped into the sort of Nuno ball ways, more negative on the back foot and accepting the pressure that Swansea were giving them. But we did see the high line in the first half. Bolly was implementing it particularly, and the short balls to Morato that in the Premier League will turn into Murillo and will get Forest playing in a much more positive way. But yeah, I think by the end Swansea maybe deserved that the atmosphere was rocking by the end, the momentum that Swansea got themselves, and it was only really going one way. And Forest going out the Carabao Cup at this stage might even be a blessing while they adapt to Ange's football and European football at the same time. Winning the trophy obviously would have been very nice, and another trip to Wembley, but adapting to the Europa League and the Premier League, that I think are the 2 main targets for this season, might suit Forest better, and good luck to Swansea.
So that was George Edwards there trying to put a bit of a positive spin on as he was making his way out of the ground following Nottingham Forest's late defeat at the hands of Swansea City in the Carabao Cup. So I'm Baz, I'm joined by Steve Burns, and we're going to pick through the carcass of what turned out to be quite a disappointing night in South Wales. So Steve, before we get to the game itself, how were you feeling beforehand? How were you feeling at half-time? And how does that compare to now?
Thanks for having me back on again. I think, first of all, I was feeling very optimistic before the game. You look at matches like this against championship opposition and you hope it was an opportunity for the team to kick on, for Ange to show some of his characteristics in the way that the team played. Although I did notice that our very, very second pass straight after kickoff went to one of their players. So I think that kind of set some tone for me. At half-time, I felt optimistic, if I'm honest. I thought the performance had been good. I thought the goals that we scored were excellent and we looked in control. And obviously, at the end of the game, feeling very crestfallen. I went to bed that evening feeling extremely sad, and that very much ruined my evening.
My wife turned to me and just went, "Oh my God, this is embarrassing. Why are you watching?"
Yeah, I didn't even mention the result to my wife because I know she'd have made comments. I just kind of ignored it, pretend it never happened.
Right, so let's start at the beginning. Ange had promised some changes, promised to give some minutes to a number of players who've not even had a chance to get on the pitch yet. So there were 10 changes in total, with Morato the only survivor from the weekend's defeat against Arsenal. So we had John in goal, a back four of Savono, Willy Bolly, Morato and Alexander Zinchenko. Yates and Douglas Luiz, nominally the holding midfielders, with Dylan Bakwa, James McAtee and Amari Hutchinson behind Igor Jesus. So sort of a familiar 4-2-3-1, but some very unfamiliar personnel in there. The game started out, as you said, with us giving them the ball, and they kind of kept it for most of the first few minutes. And their number 10 he kept nicking the ball off Savono, and given that we're pretty much a brand new team under a brand new manager, we looked pretty disjointed at first. But we started to get a foothold in the game. Bakwa had some pretty good moments of skill. Zinchenko offered that extra body in midfield. Hutchinson ran at their defence, and Jesus was all over the place, really. It paid off. Jesus got challenged while deep. Bakwa collects the ball, passes it to Hutchinson, who runs and shoots, and then Jesus covered the ground and hit the rebound home from a tight angle. Possibly a little bit fortuitous, but I think it wasn't. We were the team that looked like we were going to score, no doubt whatsoever. And then we started to look even more like the team we know we are. So we started pressing higher up the pitch, controlling the midfield. I was really impressed with Douglas Luiz, who looked to cut above everyone else. But it wasn't all us. There was a moment where they put in a long ball. I think it was Adam Ida got in behind our defence, and I was thinking, well, that's a danger of Ange ball right there. But luckily, he wasn't actually good enough to do anything with it. Then I thought what was probably a turning point in the match. The ball gets played in from their left-hand side. Bolly comes across to cover their attacker, and he goes down in the box. I thought Bolly got to the ball and was just stronger than the Swansea player, but there seems to be a lot of people saying it was definitely a penalty. I didn't think so, even after seeing the replay. But Swansea kind of turned up the pressure and started keeping hold of the ball even more. But we still had more skill. Savono and McAtee combined. McAtee puts in a great pass to Hutchinson, who then cuts it back for Igor Jesus to get a second. And I mean, when you think of Ange ball, that's what you want to see, isn't it? And that was just before the stroke of half time. So, as you were saying, Steve, seems pretty good for the first half.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of that second goal, I mean, that was just a thing of beauty, to the point where I actually stood up out of my very, very comfy sofa to stand in front of the telly to watch the replay on that one. So again, I think Hutchinson cutting the ball back, giving Igor Jesus a really simple finish was beautiful. And I think, again, I will be, if the evening had not finished quite so sadly, I think I'd probably be watching that goal over and over again.
So, second half saw Jair Cunha and Callum Wendo come on for Morato and Jesus. That was a bit of a surprise, but there were two players at the start of the season in our pre-season preview thing. They were the two players I was quite looking forward to seeing. And I would say we carried on kind of much as before. Swansea sort of huffing and puffing with the ball, but never really looking very threatening. Us having flashes of skill. Yates had a shot, McAtee fired over. We were much more likely to score, but Swansea weren't going to give up on it. Then Callum Wendo receives a pass from Yates and is blocked in the box. The referee waves play on. Morgan and Callum come on for Luis and Bakwa, I presume because they're not fully fit. And Callum Wendo gets the ball in the back of the net, but he's ruled offside. Both those decisions I thought were quite marginal, but I think they went the wrong way. Then another turning point in the game, Jair Cunha, the player I said out of everyone I was most looking forward to seeing. He wins the ball in our box with a very strong challenge. Swansea shout for a penalty, but there was no way it was a penalty. He breaks upfield, passes the ball on, carries on running, receives the ball in their box, loses his footing, and then gives up the ball. They then break back into the gap he's left behind. I think they probably had 4 against 2. We managed to scramble it away. It goes out for a corner, and they score with an completely unmarked header. Very, very worrying, but I would say at that point we still looked the better side and we looked much more likely to score again. That was really the only thing that Swansea did in the second half up till then. Callum does a Callum special where he cuts in and it has a great save from their keeper who must have seen it late. Yates has a shot blocked. Callum Wendo hits the side netting. Callum shoots wide again. Songare comes on for McAtee, but we carry on pushing forwards, playing that a little bit higher up the pitch than last season. Zinchenko fires a free kick over. We get another penalty shout as Callum Wendo's pulled back in the box by Burgess, but the linesman once again rules that he's offside for the foul. And then in injury time, they break down at our right-hand side. Savono's beaten. They put in the cross and Vipotnik puts it past John. 2-0 up and comfortable, and now it's going to go to penalties. Apart from, of course, it doesn't go to penalties. They get a corner right at the death. We clear the ball. They have a shot from distance which hits the woodwork, and then Cameron Burgess, who I thought had a really good game, he belts the rebound into the back of the net. 2-0 up, and we screwed it up.
The 1865 Match Report.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Some might say, actually, is this the curse of us now becoming Spursy?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to out which particular child of mine that said this, but one of my kids said that at 2-0 up, if we lose this, then I will cut off part of my anatomy. So we've been chasing him around the house with scissors since then. So thankfully we've managed to catch him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think at 2-0 at half time, things looked pretty good. I thought, even bringing Morgan Gibbs-White on for a little bit, I thought the energy that he brought into the pitch actually helped us. He was moving the ball quickly. And I think it was probably, if we'd have had a good game for him, that hopefully would have started to build his confidence back up again. So I was pleased to see him come on for a bit. But, like you say, unfortunately, defensive frailties caught us out. And I have wondered as well to myself, had those shots at the end, had that been Matt Sells in goal, would those have been saved?
Well, yes. So I wanted to I don't want to, it's hard not to, but I don't want to be too negative. But John in the first half was worrying me quite a lot. He was just a little bit too laid back. There were a number of times when he received the ball and the Swansea player just sort of almost nicked it off his feet.
Yeah, thankfully it's not as bad as some second choice keepers we've had over the last few years. But there were comments about having kittens in our house as we were watching that one.
Yeah, and then as you say, it was both the goals. Well, especially their second one, the first one in injury time. I thought maybe he should have done better with that because it was quite a tight angle, and he was still quite a way out. So. I mean, Savono got beaten for it, which led to the chance, but you'd have hoped the keeper would have kept that off.
Yeah, and again, I mean, looking at the way our defenders were tracking those players, I mean, like I said earlier, Bolly looked half a yard off all evening. Obviously, he's not played very many games recently, and I would have expected more with his experience in terms of marshalling players around in the box, but obviously that wasn't to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually that. I've not really thought of this, but that kind of leads me to, there wasn't anyone telling people where to be.
Yeah, and it was interesting that they made an interesting comment on Sky that there was no pairing on the pitch that had really played together. I mean, with the exception of Morato and Bolly. And obviously Morato was substituted off at half time. So you'd got no pair within that team at any one point that were used to playing with each other. I mean, I'll admit for that first half, I spent most of my time going, who's that, and trying to work out which player was which. And to say this is a team where I, watch every game and, watch all the highlights and listen to all the commentary and listen to all the podcasts, not knowing who the players were was quite disconcerting.
Yeah, I mean, we have to say as well, it was a very young side. So Bakwa, Savono, Hutchinson, even like McAtee, Jack Hunya, they're all very young players. Yeah. So you'd want someone like Willy Bolly, maybe Zinchenko or Douglas Luiz to actually stand up and say, right, I'm going to take charge of this.
Yes.
And we didn't see any of that, I have to say. Zinchenko, I thought we could see he was doing that inverted fullback thing of coming into midfield. He obviously has a lot of skill on the ball, but I think in the second half, Swansea targeted him a bit. They put one of their subs came on, and it was a tricky winger, and basically ran at him a lot. And I thought they got quite a bit out of that. Slightly worrying on his defensive side. Thought Savono, obviously a young player in a brand new league, I thought he got caught out defensively quite a few times. Maybe he was just expecting a bit more time on the ball or something.
Yeah, and again, it's similar with the Arsenal goal we conceded where the ball was hit over his head. There was a couple of moments where I thought he could have potentially cleared the ball, but instead let it bounce again as he'd done on the weekend. So again, yeah, he didn't really fill me with confidence at the back.
On the positive side, I thought Douglas Luiz was class. Obviously, he's not played much over the last year, so I'm not surprised that he came off. I was kind of intrigued to see that Morgan Gibbs-White was playing that sort of deeper role to start with, almost as a like-for-like swap for him.
Yeah, I thought Luiz, it was good to see him come on and play. Clearly, he's got experience, a range of different levels through to the Champions League, and you could see that quality in the way that he played. I think he was quite a reassuring sense in the midfield, and we definitely missed him when he went off. It did very much change the dynamic of the team, and so a very, very positive performance from him, I think.
And I thought Igor Jesus and Callum Wendo, we were just saying about how Savono maybe stepping into a new league might have a bit of difficulty adjusting, whereas those two, I think, seem to have adjusted quite well.
I thought Igor Jesus's movement was excellent. And again, being able to creep that first goal in at the near post, I thought was, really good. But he seemed to be in the right place at the right time, which is what you want from a striker. Obviously, you can't take chances if you're nowhere near the ball, but he seemed to be getting in the right places. And there were a couple of times when he was nipping in around the back of defenders and causing all kinds of trouble. So, yeah, I think that was really, really positive from him. And you mentioned Callum Wendo there. I thought he was so unfortunate to get called offside for that, certainly for the shot he had on target, the goal, which was disallowed. Again, he showed some real aptitude to being able to translate easily into this team. So, yeah, hopefully there's more to come from him.
So, so we have to talk about Ange Postecoglou. I did notice the fans was trying to sing his name during the game. I thought that was a little bit early, maybe, but you have to show a bit of support for the manager, I guess. My daughter's boyfriend is a Spurs fan, and when he signed, he just stood up and went, "I love Ange. I absolutely love Ange," and I can understand why. And you look at actually some of the players we've got, like we've just said, like Hutchinson and Jesus and Callum Wendo, McAtee, Luiz. They're all the sort of players who should do really well in an Ange side. But it's just not quite there yet. Obviously, he's only had 2 training sessions, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I'm generally an optimist. I think looking at the players that we've got, looking at the way that the squad is so much stronger than last season, and building on what we had already, and knowing the way that Ange likes to play, I think he should be able to get these players playing well. But it's just going to take a little bit of time for him to start implementing his ideas. I think also there is a bit of a hangover with this whole Nuno situation. Whether we like it or not, it's a big change for the players, and particularly those of them that were coming in thinking they were going to be playing for Nuno. The relationships that they've built up with him were clearly strong. So, there is going to be some adjustment that needs to be taking place probably from a mental place as much as anything, as well as playing style. But I'm with you. I mean, I think Ange. We've been really fortunate with the last few managers in terms of personality, and I think that the way that they've related to fans. If you think about the way that Stevie Cooper, the way that he changed that relationship with the fans, the way that he was then, pretty much adored in terms of achievements and in terms of his character. And then I think Nuno slowly did the same, with coming in quietly, but with good results, saying the right thing at the right time. Again, very, very popular manager. And from the clips that I've seen from Ange, the way that he managed at Spurs, particularly things like his press conferences, he seems to be one of those people that's got that similar kind of character that I think the fans will latch onto. But that's only going to happen when the results come. If the results don't come, then it's going to be very, very difficult for him. So hopefully we'll get the results, and then we can reap the benefits of his character later.
Yeah, the thing that worries me, I'm going to give it, obviously I have to give him a chance. He's our manager, we have to support him. I want the club to do well. I'm sure Mr. Marinakis wants the club to do well. He won't have brought him in because he thought he was a loser. He'd have brought him in because he wanted trophies.
Yeah.
But the thing that worries me is, I can't remember where I heard it. I was just saying before, apparently we've not kept a clean sheet since Manchester United. So we've been slightly shaky for a while now. And that's some 3-0 defeats, some conceding, collapsing right at the end of a game. Ange isn't really the man you want to go to shore up your defence. You want a Nuno for that.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the goals that we've conceded this season, I mean, the West Ham game was just an absolute disaster. And there was something very, very not right about that day. I think we all went to watch that game with, full of optimism. But you think about the first two performances of the season, we looked relatively solid at the back. I think we were unfortunate in the first game that we conceded a last-minute penalty. So I think in the core, we still have probably that defensive capability. I think it's just going to take time for Ange to work out how to use it and get the benefits. I mean, again, I was listening to reading another article recently where they were talking about how Milenkovic may struggle if he's having to run back to playing a high line and having to run back to goal. He likes the game in front of him. So hopefully Ange is going to be smart enough to be able to work out the strengths of his players and then build a style of play appropriately, he said optimistically.
I have noticed we haven't had two centre halves on the halfway line and everyone else in the opposition half yet this season.
Yet.
And I mean, if worst comes to the worst, we can always just rely on scoring 4 goals and getting a draw. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to George and to Steve for giving us their thoughts. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back at the weekend with a report after the away game at Burnley.
You've been listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other listeners find our content.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.